I was at the residency with the Otolith Collective with Anjalika and Kodwo last summer. Before this, I had worked for Kodwo and Anjalika preparing for exhibitions and also working at the office. So also in personal level, when I had difficult times in the Netherlands, Kodwo and Anjalika was generously invited me to stay with them for a while, and now supporting me as an artist. And I'm very pleased how well our friendship have been growing up in such a beautiful way and making this event tonight. Last year, I had a chance to visit Asylum Seeker Center in the Netherlands as helping Dutch refugee specialist with Korean translation with another Korean asylum seeker. Afterwards, I was seduced by an idea exploring what is there and what I was seduced by. And I started to developing research about history of military architecture, which transformed to asylum seeker centers these days. And there is also a point of departure that how the Korean modern history is intersecting with the world history. At the same time, I was talking to my friend Igor as we live nearby and seeing each other quite often. We first met at Changdong residency in Seoul 2007. Changdong residency run by National Museum of Contemporary Art. And as artists getting to learn about each other's work, it was very difficult to understand Igor's work. The images, the languages, and the narratives, everything was quite far from me, as if we are living at different planets. And then I moved to the Netherlands in 2009, and then it was a huge changes in life, as getting through different politics and cultures. And after getting through this movement of displacement, somehow I was getting able to understand Igor and his work. And when I talked to Igor about the history of military architecture and this encountering with North Korean asylum seeker, somehow there was a space opening between us, which becomes Filmic dialogue, which we have been prepared for tonight. The dialogue surrounds Poetics, which is sensitizing to his own and also my own personal issues and the migrant crisis these days. But I'm not going to talk about the politics around this crisis, but rather focused on where we are standing up as persons. So now we would like to thank you all for coming, and I'm really looking forward to talk to you after the screening. Thank you.
later. Yes. So this is a little bit of context. The Triumph of the Will that I saw a series of photographs in Korea 2008. I don't know if it was a new survey or a bit older by Yunjoo. And I reacted with a few of my sources and ideas. Since The Triumph of the Will is its old movie, we will also show the fragment out of it. It's like montage movie about by Leni Riefenstein. Sorry, I am not going to explain about this. The drums are by Korean traditional music, the original drums of the girls, and I combined with the drums of the band called Leibach. This is avant-garde band art project, part of, this is how I was learning about art in my country, by following some dissidents from other areas. Anyway, so this is my reaction. This band was also recently in North Korea playing, so it's kind of weird thing. And that's a bit of my introduction. Like we are now continuing. This was our first work together, or dialogue, exchanging our materials and ideas. The images are all Yunjoo's and the montages. And thanks for coming.
Sa bilo kakvom pričom treba nekako da se počne. Ovo je već par riječi i to je početak. Da budem iskren, moj nasilni glas me nervira. Ja se uvijek dvoumim koji ton da izaberem, to jest kako da podisim nivo melanholije ili kada treba da imam energetičan glas. A šta da se radi, ovo je već jedan od takvih filmova. Možda pomogne ako zašutim i samo ostavim moje misli u prijevodu ispod.
A. B.
Say.
The microphone is weird for me. But this is the only way that you can really hear me, no?
No, it's not the only way, it's just...
You like that it's very interview-like. And I thought, okay, this is nice idea. And I was also with a friend. No, I was with you.
Purino, choked up, wage deep down in my throat. A black angel, clouding transparency, opaque, unfathomable storm. The image of hatred and of foreigner is neither the romantic victim of our clannish indolence, nor the intruder responsible for all the ills of the police, neither the apocalypse on the move, nor the instant adversary to be eliminated for the sake of appeasing the group. Strangely, the foreigner lives within us. He is the hidden face of our identity, the space that wakes our abode, the time in which understanding and affinity found. By recognizing him within ourselves, we are spared detesting him in himself. Our symptom that precisely turns we into a problem, perhaps makes it impossible. The foreigner comes in when the consciousness of our difference arises, when he disappears, when we all acknowledge ourselves as foreigners, unamenable to bonds and communities.
People say sometimes, what are you doing with refugees? But actually the local churches are doing the work with refugees. I give them advice. So sometimes I also do some myself, but normally I would give local churches advice what they could do for refugees in their local city or village. On the other hand, I lobby, do advocacy work at the government, and I'm within a network with other organizations trying to do the best for refugees, the situation of refugees in the Netherlands, but colleagues of mine are also working for refugees in Syria, for example. So we also have projects, these local churches in Syria and Lebanon, to provide shelter or school for children. So I'm just doing a part and others doing another part. But the work always has been done by local churches or local partners.
저는 태어난 거는 양강도 부천군 축전리에서 태어났거든요. 저희 아빠랑 부모들하고 이렇게 산 기억이 나는 거는 저 자강도 자송이라는 데서 살다가 제가 9살경에 저희 아버지가 정치범 수용소로 끌려갔다 하고 학교 갔다 오니까 집에 이불장 이런 데가 다 딱지가 붙고 막 그러고 있어서 제가 저희 엄마한테 물어봤더니 아버지가 잡혀갔단다. 그래, 아버지가 왜 잡혀가냐 물어보니까 나도 잘 모르겠다. 엄마가 그러는 거예요. 다음날 학교를 갔는데 학교에서 선전을 하는 거예요. 몇 명의 아이들을 앞으로 주석단 앞으로 내다 세우고 반동놈의 새끼라고. 정말 그 다음에 교실에 들어갔는데 애들이 그 다음부터는 반동놈의 새끼라 하면서 입었던 동복이고 막 이렇게 칼로 찢어놓으면서
Mama ero me, stara na duši. Sajtam vrapčići, ovdje. A kaže teta Mirka, nemojte ga zvat, on će pas, neće ga više biti. Ma šta rekao, neće, moj sin sad će doći kod mene i bit će. Ja sam sigurna u moju sinu. Kad ja onda kažem, Boro, a moja šogorica poletila u krevet, pa ja njih pokrijem dobro. Ništa rekao, ne brinite, odmah će moj Boro doći. Boro, vodi, brzo, idemo kući. Boro se ufatio jedne ovako štange i samo se spustio bravo. Spustio si iz otrca, mama šta to je? Evo ćemo kući, Boga znaš. A gdje si bio?
conventions, and we have all kinds of conventions. And it's not up to us to look who is a real refugee or not. It's all in the law. So let the law and the lawyers and the courts do that work on this, and the IND, the immigration services. So we know that Syria is a war, and there's a big, quick decision to stop also from here bombing Syria, and we are bombing in Iraq. And when you're bombing, people will fly, and you'll have refugees. So it's like that. It is, of course, not that we know how this will end. So also there is some uncertainness how it will end. But for us it's quite clear that when reading the Bible and Matthew 25 say, I was a stranger and you start me. So in that way, how to behave in these certain times is still with love and welcoming and giving space to the other, because we know what from acting with hate and fighting, that won't end good. So you know what you sow, that's what you have in your harvest. So however, whatever will end, it's for us important to do the good and the right things. And not because we know how it ends.
근데 학교 때도 은근히 자기네 아버지는 무슨 간부요 뭐요 하면 제가 그 애들은 은근히 막 그 애들 보면 은근히 화가 나는 거예요. 괜히 막 그 애들하고 트집을 잡아가지고는 괜히 때릴 일을 만든단 말이에요. 그 애들이 내 말을 듣게끔. 저도 가만히 생각해보면 내가 왜 그러지? 안 그래도 되는데 어쨌든 이 감정이 안 좋은 거예요.
Ja gledam gore. Da mi popet se ovdje gore i odrezati ono baš i dole. Pa kad sam ga ja donijela iz šume, kad je on pao, popeo se na najveći japanj, onaj gore. Kad se popeo gore, popeo se.
The other thing is that you have some oppositions within the civil society and what's making people afraid. There is an agreement that South Korea will take refugees from North Korea because South Korea accepts all Koreans as their citizens. For some reason, Choi didn't want to live in South Korea. She said it would be dangerous. I don't believe that. I've spoken with several persons there also about this issue. It could give some tensions between South Korea and North Korea about taking the North Korean back. But that's a political thing. That's not a personal thing of China. And I found when it's not possible to stay here legal, her children, and she keeps on staying illegal, her children will become at the end stateless. There is not a worse position for children as being stateless because you don't have any civil rights. And that means that you do not have protection of a civil society what protects you. If they would go to South Korea, the state of South Korea would protect them and giving them civil rights and human rights. So I thought that was a bad decision and I should not work on having this woman with children in an illegal position in the Netherlands, especially because the children didn't have certificates of birth. And in South Korea they would get citizenship, and that's why they would have the best interest. And sometimes the best interest of persons are not the same as what the people want themselves. And here we have such a situation. Of course, I found it hard to disappoint her, but overseeing the whole situation, the legal situation, the best thing she could do is returning to South Korea, taking there her rights, what she has as Korean.
Je sigurno da nije ovako? Ovako mora da bude. Hoćemo probati još.
Ne može ovako, znači ovo treba da bude ovako, ne može... Čekaj. Ovo je planet, tako? Da, ovo je sve planete, pa ovdje je švedski, ovdje je Holandiju i tako se stiže da Holandija i švedski su tako blisko, puno pa može malo da se osjeti. Ovdje je papir, ovdje je baby, što tako, a ovo je papir isto i tako. Ovo je mama. To je, ne znam šta to je, samo to je tako, jak mama je ljuta, no to ona tako. I to je sve.
To je sve? Dobro, hvala.
Hvala, pa.
그때 이거 내가 무슨 말 어떻게 해야 될지 그 어린 18살 때인데 황당하더라고요. 그래서 진짜 긴장했죠. 모릅니다. 그것이 내가 똑똑지 못해서 그 말 했는지는 모르겠는데 제가 대답할 수 있는 거는 모릅니다 밖에 없더라고요. 그래서 제가 모릅니다. 그러니까 그래? 몰라? 알았어. 가서 생활 잘해? 이 이때까지도 일 잘했는데 이렇게 말을 하더라고요. 그래 예 하고 나왔는데 진짜 잔등이는 땀범벅이었어요. 저는 그 자리에서 있지 최윤선 이거 이름을 이렇게 밑줄을 끄면서 이 사람 누구야 할 때 저는 잡아가는 줄 알았거든요. 저를 순간에 생각하기 나는 어려서 못 잡아갔던 게 이제는 일하니까 날 잡아가나? 내 생각이 오라도 내 생각대로 말할 수가 없는 거예요. 잘못 말하면 걸릴까봐 오직 그게 두려워서.
Yes. Angielski dialogs. Ili, ili si sa nama? Ili si sa njima? Ili? Da. Odgovor. Da, odbaci. Sam nenaklone i tihe. Žive usta. Neposredno. Nesputano.
So my first point that that I thought watching the video, watching the dialogue, was that you know, at the beginning you began by talking about displacement, you know, and the nature of self-exile, you know, and as the filmic dialogue progressed, I began thinking of the differences between displacement and self-exile of the artist, and the kind of enforced movement of the asylum seeker and of the refugee. I began thinking of these very different kinds of movement and very different kinds of regimes of the image, the different kinds of understanding we have of these kinds of images. And I began to think that that what you were presenting us with was not so much an image of displacement, but more a displacement of the image's capacity to illustrate. So that the images were not documents of displacement, but they were displacing the documentary function. So that the capacity to use an image to understand exile, or to have and to hold a picture of exile, this stopped working, and instead the images displaced each other. And it's one thing to do this as an artist, but I think this is a critical move in terms of the work of how refugees and asylum seekers are imagined, because part of the problematic of being a refugee is the extremely fixed nature of images of the refugee and images of the asylum seeker. So to displace that image and to bring it into relation with artistic images, that's it's a powerful project to relate your images to other images that are not of you, but now have become related to each other. So maybe this is a short way of asking how you and Igor came to first decide on which images, and then second, if you could tell us a bit about the kind of the choreography of images, the way you decided on, you know, sequencing and arranging. Maybe we can even just choose one example. There was a moment I liked very much where you have the North Korean woman is speaking. The screen is black. You see her subtitled, translated speech. So it's a non-image. And then Igor brings in clouds on this side. And so her speech, where she is narrating her biography, is related to these clouds from an aeroplane, from a window. And this relation does something, displaces the narration process in a very enigmatic way. So even that's a small moment, and then it comes up, and then it goes. And the dialogue is full of moments of relation, a poetics of relation that continually emerges and then goes away. And this appearance and disappearance and the choreography of this, maybe we could start our conversation by talking a bit about this relation.
Maybe I could have a comment as well. So thank you for your presentations. Very bleak, which I think is an unexpected kind of punctuations of a kind of punctuated sense of bleakness is something I really appreciated. So there was lots of kind of symbolic energy in there and poetry. But I would like to, and I agree, I'm just thinking a bit more about what Kodwo said, but I'd actually like to ask a question I think that kind of question was directed at you from Kodwo, so I'd like to ask a question to Igor about. Because the first piece was a collaboration between you both, right? With the dancing girls and the cut-up gestures of that image, yeah? I was really curious about the sound, because this involved Laibach, yeah? And for those who don't know, Laibach are a band from Slovenia, from a kind of movement called Neue Slovene Kunst. I kind of have a lot of ambivalence about Laibach, even though that they're kind of being really popularized on eFlux right now and have been popularized. I was at a concert in Paris and had to be taken in under a coat because the whole audience was full of neo-Nazis, people dressed like neo-Nazis. They were kind of on stage. It's kind of punky Slovenians dressed like kind of sexy neo-Nazis, which I all found a bit disturbing because I had to be taken in under a coat. So I was just interested in why you chose Laibach, why you chose to cut the gestures up of these figures, and mix them with a kind of Korean drumming, traditional drumming music. And for Igor, why was this? But maybe we could start, so you both just can reflect on these two questions.
Yeah. Maybe I should give brief information about the Korean traditional dance, and then you give the information about the Laibach. Yeah. So I made this photography in 2006. It's about Korean traditional dance girls at the dance school. And they are about 13, 14, 15 years old. And I was seduced by the image of the dance, which represents like a mass game. And I was researching about this dance. And then what I found out was most of Korean people found this dance as a traditional Korean traditional dance, but actually it was not like that. The authentic dance was actually a single dance during the Joseon dynasty, which means the late of 18th centuries. But later, during the dictatorship, which is 1970s, when Korea first participated to Olympic Games in Mexico, the dictator ordered to represent some cultural event during the Olympic Games. So the single dance is transformed to a group dance. So I was interested in the cultural transformation in a manipulated way by the politics. And then Igor suggested me if he can animate these photos into the short clip movies.
Yeah, indeed, and it happened from my perspective. Laibach, yeah, you know, like, I mean, the observation that this is really a very old movement that is dissident movement, part of Slovenian kunst, Slovenian new art, that was kind of protest, or not even protest, but undermining. It's really dissidency of re-identification by repeating or just bringing the totalitarian gesture to the point of ridiculousness and connecting it with the higher grounds or to all kind of avant-garde movements, etc. You know, like it for me was pretty educational. I would not defend Leibach. I don't like much Leibach nowadays. I see them in perspective, and I use only stuff that from my upbringing. So these are 80s, and they started when they were highly censored, imprisoned, mistreated, etc. So they were exiled to only playground was England. There are many ways to misuse anything. Yunjoo explains the misuse of cultural heritage, and of course, nowadays you misuse word of freedom. Really, you misuse everything for all kind of dark and feelings from your inside, dirty insides. And of course, Leibach, it's pointing this political level once you're on the stage what this means, how you operate with the mass. I don't know how far I should speak about this, but it is controversial. Also aesthetically, I don't agree on many points. This is my puberty. This is really stuff that I like to use as reference, and I don't use it anymore. But in the beginning, especially when speaking about my cultural background, this cultural background that is full of historic trauma, any kind of cultural background that is misused, for civil war that happened in ex-Yugoslavia. So this was the play of Leibach, and exposing the perfection and calling it Triumph of the Will by Yunjoo. This was the direct hit to Leibach, for me at least. So.
I'd like to ask you a little bit also about the kind of montage, because the term kind of imperfection, and I don't know if you've read Spinoza's Towards an Imperfect Cinema, the kind of third cinema manifesto in a way. The images seem to be avoiding representation in so many different ways. Even down to the child's drawings, right? They are kind of conjuring a kind of different kind of, let's say, sense of emancipatory seeing. Yeah. So you kind of put this very beautifully. I enjoyed that. But then the sense of the kind of coach with the sort of grey, rainy windows and the text, which is quite funny in some ways, kind of, and poetic and sad. Again, this kind of really bleak imagery. Also the sense of the clouds being in a kind of, people often focus on the sea. I enjoyed, I like the way you went from the sea to the clouds. The clouds for me are kind of state of suspension for the migrant, this kind of state of suspension. I think in many ways you kind of addressed this state. So could you talk a little bit about this kind of, the choice of images, the kind of notion of, the kind of sense of imperfection, and the relationship you had to the sky in the work? Igor?
It's my turn? Yunjoo, you want to say?
Oh, it's for Yunjoo? No,
Or,
both of them are using this guy.
Yeah. Sense of imperfection. I was struck about sense of imperfection. I was a bit read in class, so it was full of imperfections. How it was working, really like this. But I don't know what to say. This is metaphoric language. So how far I could, or it's open for interpretation. These clouds, this randomness of clouds, or random traces on the board or on the window, or yeah, I don't know. Like it's what can I say about choices? I mean, it's just like for me, this is sense of travel. It's utter boredom. So I was wondering how boring it's going to become to show the clouds for I don't know how long until image comes in, but it's also entertaining. Certainly the performance that we did. This is a friend of me, Ton de Frede. We had similar setup that I proposed to bring, because this is old material. This is all from 2002 or something, and I wanted to work through it in different way, because it was a bit self-censored. I could not stand all stuff what I said. It's like 1 hour thing, so I was filtering it. But about the randomness, the music is also totally random thing, or the deserted traces. I mean, Ton was improvising. He did not know what he was doing. So we were in kind of in similar way operating, like me and Yunjoo in Icelandic videos. We were first watching each other's thing, and it's every time randomly we choose the points to begin and stop. So,
The image was predominant which we choose to use for the screening.
Maybe you could say a bit more about the because when you say randomly chosen, in a certain sense you've set up a system, and then it's the system that is doing the selection process. So in a certain way you've let a certain degree of control go, which is why it feels random. But it isn't really. The work, all the work has been done through the years of making the work, and then coming together is a way of both sharing the images and letting them go, and making the images strangers to you who made them. This is part of the displacement effect of the way the images are not only images of displacement, but displace themselves and displace you, and hopefully displace us as well, and involve us in this continual process of interrupted displacement. And the nature of the clouds becomes a motif, whether the clouds are overhead, or whether they are from below, whether they are taken from Leni Riefenstahl, whether they're taken on the move, whether they are static. They become a kind of a continually changing motif, which returns in different ways, so that it stops being about any one image and becomes about the trajectory of images as they go. So in a certain sense, the images are travelers. The images are in motion, so that the images start to stand in for these questions of displacement and exile and asylum and refugee status, all of which are different, but all of which become connected to each other in the time and space of the backwards and forwards of projection and sound and silence and darkness and light. And that's why it's compelling for everybody to experience, and it's also deeply enigmatic. And there's a kind of, Edouard Glissant talks about opacity and the right to opacity, the right to not be transparent, the right to not explain yourself, the right to not narrate your kind of to narrate your biography, the right not to be enlightened, and I felt that was part of what was going on. That it was a performance of that right to opacity, and this is one of the rights that the refugees do not have. To be a refugee, to be an asylum seeker, is to always be called upon to explain yourself continually. Everybody wants you to narrate your story. You have no opacity, and if you do, the opacity is viewed as a hostile condition, which must be made transparent. And so I felt that in a way you'd drawn the images into an enactment of this. Could you talk a bit about that? This way of performing with images, so, of putting images into a relation, so that they play with each other, and the capacities of images, the images to explain, and images to be distant. The way you played with this, because I felt this was part of the success of the project.
As I gave the introduction at the beginning, when I watched Igor's films about 10 years ago, I couldn't understand anything at all. But somehow, after getting through the movement of displacement since I moved to Netherlands, and dealing with this whole subject, somehow I was getting more understanding about himself, about him as a person, also his work. And then I wanted to be clear more about, in terms of dealing with this screening, ordering the images. So when I gave him a question, okay, so could you please tell me more about your grandmother? Could you please tell me more about the environment where she is? But then Igor was kind of angry with me. I don't have to explain to you everything. Yeah, okay, yeah, and then he sort of said to me, okay, refuging the narratives, okay, let's play more with the images. And then somehow it started to flow more peacefully. Yeah, without clarifying things. Yeah. Right? Maybe you can talk more about me.
I take this pretty clear.
I think it's yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask you about this. The reason, kind of, okay, you met at a residency and blah blah blah, but of course there were arguments and affinities that have brought you together. I think it's something that we have also talked about a lot. Is this kind of sense of, or a kind of, over the years, this, terms like displacement, terms like opacity, terms like migrant, terms like, we've talked about writers like Stuart Hall, Paul Gilroy. We have discussed a lot in the few years that you've been coming, all these things, right? I think it's interesting, I mean, this is a much deeper question, but, the kind of relationship to South Korea in relation to how they read themselves in let's say, the kind of colonial, anti-colonial discourse, and what we know as the post-colonial discourse. But maybe that's just something to kind of reflect on. I think it would be really nice to keep the conversation going for the 10 minutes we have left. Probably, I don't know how much longer we have left. But if there are questions, then we can sort of have you all together, we can talk together. I think that's better. So, any questions? Yes, lady.
Yeah, in the first film of Igor, you said that short films are quickly forgotten and long ones too. And you used the phrase that image eats image. And so I was thinking
This
about
was
that.
the second film, you forgot the first one. The first one.
I've already forgotten. That's the problem. And so I wonder if you could say a bit about what you think the role of short film is today, and whether there's some sense in which putting these films into dialogue creates another kind of vibrancy that that circumvents that terrible fate of image eating image in an image-saturated world where we hardly have attention for anything because the new image is coming, right? It reminds me of Plato and the ancient, the ancient complaint that text and writing is ephemeral, but dialogue is forever. Is there some way in which putting these films into dialogue animates them or creates something different it has a different kind of ontology that escapes that just being supplanted by another image?
I would say, I was thinking when you have a not planned dialogue, so you bumped into someone, friend or whoever, you start talking, and at certain point you don't know anymore why you're speaking about certain things you forgot, or if you don't know, it's totally associative thing, and it's travel Sagar, but it's feeling about exchange there, regardlessly that you are remembering totally what you said previously. I mean, I can't. I don't know how pessimistic should be. Of course, it's in the context of this how you call it in English, society of spectacle. That we are totally totally occupied with overflows of images. So okay, another short. Little artist work wherever presented. Sure, but it's not about this. It is about telling stories to each other, and it's. We are with so many. There are so many stories. So if you succeed to tell this, I don't know. I'm just. I don't know in which direction. It's about way of telling the things in the end. We forget it, but also we don't forget. We always get surprised that things popped up again. Maybe I should stop now. But this fragment is actually a quote from the book. I just actually recently discovered. So this is something that I put into old stuff that I forgot about myself, this is all what's going on. I have no idea what I was doing back then, and then I'm doing the idea for this concert, and also using for Yunjoo, so everything is open again, and then I'm inserting some recent stuff. But in the book is exactly, the guy is speaking about film art and the movies, really Hollywood, the big stuff that he cannot remember anything, and he's wondering why. So, and then he say, maybe text, maybe this he'll say, but and then the previous quote is from the other book about the sea in permanent swelling and the monster that will swallow everything up. But this is life. We are speaking about life in a way, I guess. And these two guys are friends. They are also communicating. I don't know, that's the background of this.
Thank you. Does anybody else have a comment or a something they'd like to say about the work. It doesn't have to be a question, it can just be thoughts or...
Maybe while people are thinking, I wanted to talk a bit about the scene with you and the North Korean woman, because I found that it's compelling for a number of reasons. Because the strategy is it's static shots, fixed tripod shots. So there are many things happening, but the camera stays still in order to capture all the small events that are happening. And then using this, as you were explaining to me beforehand, a kind of South Korean version of a WhatsApp. Yeah, in order to have this these episodes from this narration, and then as the narration goes on, gradually the two voices become more and more at odds with each other. So the gaps, the gap that was already there from the beginning gets wider, not closer. So that in the end, one voice says, the woman says, you know, I don't want to join the community. And then the other voice says, you know, does the community make you uncomfortable? And I wondered if you could talk a bit about the formal aspect of that, where you place the text over those fixed images like that, because it's a compelling way to narrate episodes from an argument, and it's very different to the talking head of the Dutch Christian woman who is talking to the camera very earnestly and seriously. Here there are no images, but there are kind of images of voices talking and arguing. By the end, they're having an argument, a silent argument, which is loud as you read it. But the scene is quiet, but the argument is loud. And I wondered if you could talk a bit about this, because it's a very interesting and compelling way of narrating this moment.
So when I first met with the North Korean woman, actually, so with Eshun, the Dutch refugee specialist, actually we were going to meet another woman, but then this woman who was in KakaoTalk with me was behind another woman. Yeah. So actually we did meet the woman Eshun wanted to meet. So it was kind of such a piece of starting since the beginning, talking with this woman, and she has all the plan how to get through this legal procedure, because she couldn't get the legal procedure by herself. So I wanted to be honest to find the best way as possible for her. And also this meeting was possible by Binna Choi, the director of Casco, the Office for Art Theory and Design in Utrecht. Why do I talk about Binna? Yeah, so me and Binna were very enthusiastic how to help this woman, because we always thought this immigrant politics is always so bullshit. So we should take some action, which was kind of naive if I think back about the moment. And but we made an agreement. We and the North Korean woman made an agreement. Okay, I would like to help you as much as I can. And can you please talk to me about how you lived in North Korea, which is about 20 years ago. So we had this agreement. So that's why I went to meet with the Secretary General North Korean defectors community in England. Ask him for advice. How can I help this woman? So he advised me to visit Amnesty International and ask them for help, but which she refused eventually. So it looks like she had some way which she wanted to control, and somehow it didn't worked out. So I was thinking, okay, so my plan for making a film about North Korean asylum seeker is gone. I cannot make anything. And about this, when I was talking to Igor, hey, these things happened to me. And then what he told me was, yeah, maybe that would be more interesting to film about how it failed.
How it failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be more interesting if it succeeded. So afterwards, I was thinking about, okay, so how to create the narratives between me and her and the refugee specialist afterwards. So this KakaoTalk was only the document I have from her. Yeah. So that's how I ended up using the images and the stories.
It's I mean it's extremely complicated when you explain it. It's a complicated scenario, but when you see it, it's eloquent and it's reduced. It's a few elements which convey an extremely complicated situation, and the video puts us straight into the complexity. You don't simplify it at all. So you're using simple means to narrate a very complex story. At the same time, I think you know, this woman, she has a certain opacity. She doesn't want to go along with the program that you and Binna have decided. You want to help her, and she doesn't want your help. She doesn't want the help of the Dutch woman either. So she has her own stubbornness, and that's fascinating because the simplicity allows this breakdown of communication to come along in a very strong way, and in a way the entire dialogue has these. The entire dialogue is not about. There were very few moments of smooth communication. There were many interrupted moments, almost continually. Every time you put the piece of paper in front of the projector, you know, I had this feeling of terror, like what's coming next? Because you were continually breaking the image, you know, and then the image that came next would not explain the previous image, and then the image before would not explain the image after. So each time we're left with this series of non-explained, non-reconciled images and sounds. And so I think this is really, it was a highly appropriate sequence and to really end on. Does anybody else have other questions? Of course, you can see we can just ignore you. You can keep talking forever. But since you're here, if you have any thoughts for either Yunjoo or for Igor, then speak now or hold your peace. Anybody? In that case, we'll keep going. How much more time do we have? 2 minutes. Oh my goodness.
Hegemony here. No, just you know, about disruption. There was a phrase, broken English, and as someone who grew up in a household where broken English was the parlance, a European mother and a Korean father. Yeah, so much of it struck me about that brokenness and impossibility of translation, and I thought what was really beautiful was like the reaching across of two different experiences of that from different cultures. That was quite poetic, I thought, putting that brokenness into dialogue.
Torn parts that do not add up to a whole. I think, as Adorno would say, that's part of what you are putting in play in a very elegant and eloquent way. Well, if there are no more thoughts or no more questions, then we'll leave it there. I mean, this is a kind of a public stage of an ongoing conversation that we've been having with Yunjoo for several years now, and we're really glad that it's come to this stage, and we hope to continue this conversation at other venues in other times. And Yunjoo's talked about Igor's work for many years now, so it's been a pleasure to listen and to watch their work together. So I'm sure you'd like to join me in thanking Yunjoo and Igor for presenting their work today. Thank you.